Following our sale of this Porsche 911 GT1 Chassis 5 just over a year ago, we embarked upon a total and comprehensive overhaul for the new owner to bring it back to as new specification and condition. We've had it completely apart. We've retrimmed it, we've carried out some sensitive paintwork, we've rebuilt the engine in its entirety, we've refinished all of the suspension and the wishbones, even gone to the lengths of purchasing the right dynamo machine so that we could recreate the exact and identical labels that were affixed to all the pipes and hardware in the engine bay that would have been there when it was new, so that it's exactly as it would have been left the factory. So before we do one of our traditional handover and user guide videos, let's have a quick look back at what we've done over the last year. So here's the car complete, ready for delivery, and now we're just going to run through a few little bits and pieces with regards to how it works, how you get into the different compartments, and a few hinters and helpers to help you along the way. So first off, before we go into the front compartment, just wanted to point out that the towing eye is currently fitted. It goes through the grille, and it's a simple anti-clockwise to take it out, clockwise to put it in, and it lives in a pouch in the boot that we'll come back to in a minute. But first, the front compartment. How do we open that? Well, driver's side, just like any good 964 or 993 Porsche, to the left-hand side of the dash there's a pull lever, and you pull it, and you have to make sure you pull it really hard because you've got catches on both sides, so it needs a really firm pull. And that's it open there, and it opens on its own hydraulic rams. So in the front here we've got the battery in the middle. We fitted to this car a C-Tech trickle charger, which is just here. The trickle charger's in the boot, but it's got the traditional 3 lights. We've got this red one flashing, showing that it actually needs a bit of a charge. When it's on charge, this will be flashing in the middle green or orange, but if it continues to flash red, check your charger, make sure it's plugged in properly. In addition, in the front, we've got the windscreen washer fluid filler pot in the front there, and that's really about it. This is your fuel tank, which is from a 964 Porsche, and in terms of filling up with fuel, you have to have the bonnet open, and it's a simple twist to open and fill up there, and that's it. So for under the front, that's pretty much it. Now when it comes to closing the front, again, you've got these 2 latches, so either a firm push in the middle, and that should go for both sides at once, but if not, you might have to latch each side individually. That's done. Okay, so moving on to the back. First of all, we're going to open the boot lid. So again, inside the driver's side, just inside the roll cage here, there's an electronic switch, and you press it, and it opens. So under this hatch, which is just opened, again, it's on its own hydraulic rams, and in here you'll find the trickle charger, this tool, which is very useful for a minute for opening up the back, so I'm going to take that out and leave it. And then these super useful additional seat cushions in case you're not happy with the specification of what's in there at the moment. And in here is your warning triangle, and where your towing eye lives, the towing eye goes in here. And if you like, you can put the tool for opening the back in there. Again, to close this, a nice firm push. Okay, so next up, opening up the rear clam so that we can get into the engine bay. The tool that we took out of the boot. We open both doors, one side at a time, and there's this hole here that we put it into. Feed it all the way in, give it a twist, and you'll feel that it'll lock into the hexagonal locking mechanism, and you simply undo it. And then you'll hear it click, about 13 half turns. A little tip as well for when we pull open the back is to make sure that the handbrake is on for this sequence. I'll leave that door open. And again, we go to the other side. Same again. Feed it in and undo it until it's open. And once that's undone, make sure you don't leave the tool in here because it becomes all too easy for someone to close the door on it. So you take the tool out, we leave it in the passenger footwell. So coming back to the rear of the car, what's next is opening up the rear clamshell. So it's a two-stage sequence. First of all, we've got to pull the clamshell back about 2 inches. So best place to grab it is either side of the spoiler mounts. And there you go, you can see that it comes back about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, ready to go up. Then we move around to one side, one hand under the top here, one hand under the wheel arch, and we lift it up. And it levers backwards, and at the bottom here we've got this pedal, so you can watch it lock in place. So that's now locked in. So here it is, the twin turbocharged flat 6 engine mated to its 962 gearbox. But how about the all-important maintenance aspect? So first of all, we've got the power steering fluid here, which is Dextron 2 fluid, and then oil. It takes Mobil 1 5W40, the filling point's here, and the dipstick is on the side. And how do we check the oil? Well, the engine's got to be up to temperature. On the oil temperature gauge, the temperature has to be above at least the 3rd notch, and then it has to be left idling for 30 seconds. You switch it off, and then you check the oil level using a traditional dipstick. So to open the oil filler cap, you'll need a screwdriver just to flick up the first part, twist and open. And be careful, because it is on a chain and it's very short, so if you try to take it all the way out, you'll drop it. Also, another thing to note is if the car has been stop-started and not run up to temperature, condensation will build in this oil tank here, and you will get a build-up of whitey substance and sludge, which you'll need to clean off and make sure you then run it up to temperature so that you can check the oil. And like a traditional dipstick, you pull it out the side, and it has its noticeable notches. On the dipstick, there's this flat surface, and if you rotate it through 90 degrees, this is empty. This is the bare minimum. And between this point and this point is where your oil level should be. So beyond this is overfilled, and below that is underfilled. And this notch is absolutely empty. So now to close it, obviously the clam is held by the security mechanism at the back. So the red anodized lever, got to put my foot on it, hold it down and make sure we keep it held down. Slide this forwards until we get to a point that I need to remove my leg. And by that point, it's gone far enough that it will let it. And you can put your hand in this small hole here, again, hand under the wheel arch, drop it down, and there we are. It sits down. Finally, push it back into position, again, on the wing, and that's it. Now it's time to tighten it up. So just like when we were undoing it, we put the tool in, find the hole, start going clockwise, and it will find itself, and it will pull it in. And you keep going until it becomes tight, and you'll find that you've got to the end, and that's it. Same again on the other side, and the clam's locked down and ready to go. So with this car, we've equipped it with a Pewees Tester 3. And first we need to plug into the OBD port on the side of the center console. Once we've done that, the laptop needs connecting via USB. And then we're ready to power up. So once the laptop's loaded up, we've got the Porsche icon at the top here. Double click to fire it up. This will load the diagnostic tools. And once it's loaded up, we switch the ignition on. So we turn the ignition on, and we also need to deactivate the immobilizer by pressing the dimpled button. There we go. Then on here, we double click on Diagnostics. We select Manual Model Selection. We then need to scroll right to Miscellaneous. Click on Miscellaneous, little list comes up here, click on GT1, and then bottom right hand corner, Continue, and then it starts to load the data. And from then on, you've got full access to your diagnostics. So now we're inside the cockpit or the cabin of the GT1, and whilst I can see 993 Porsche here, there's definitely something very different around my head. My head's actually sitting up in this arched ceiling, and in the middle here we've got the air scoop that feeds the engine and the intercooler. But for the interior, so traditional 993 Porsche key and alarm system. It's got your dimpled button and your raised button, obviously unlock and lock. So we put the key in the ignition as normal. It's on the left-hand side of the steering column. We turn it, we press the dimpled one, deactivate the immobiliser. It's a twist it clockwise to start, just like any Porsche. But whilst we're here, how does everything else work? Well, we've got our H-pattern 6-speed manual gearbox, exposed linkage, of course, reverses all the way over to the left and forwards, and then first is gently against the spring, left, forwards, that's first, then back for second, the middle, forwards is third, back for fourth, to the right, fifth, and then all the way back for sixth, to the right. Simple as that. So in this car we've mounted a rear-facing camera, and it's got three options. It can be on the whole time, it can be off the whole time, or it can only come on with reverse. With the switch to the left, which can be found under the dash here, and it's a toggle switch that goes from left to middle to right. If it's on the left, as it is right now, the screen's always on. If it's in the middle, the screen's always off. And if it's to the right, the screen only comes on when you put it in reverse, like that. In the centre of the dash here, you've got your electric mirror controls, again, super easy to use, hazard lights, your immobiliser warning switch, your warning function on the dash to turn things off, electric windows up and down, left and right. In the middle, you've got your climate control settings here, heated windscreen, fog lights, cigarette lighter, and in the glove box, all of your relays and fuses. The rest of it's very straightforward, just like a normal 911 of this period. You've got your indicators on the left here, you've got your windscreen washers on the right-hand stalk, and then this lower one is your internal computer. So at the moment we've started on speed. If I go through the different functions by flicking down to the left, so we start at speed, we go to trip meter, we go to average speed, we go to average fuel consumption, we go to range left on the fuel tank, we go to outside ambient air temperature, and then finally the all-important boost. Then finally on the left-hand side of the steering column you've got two last controls. One's for the lights, so side lights, and then main lights. Dip and main beam is on this left-hand stalk, and your handbrake is on the left-hand side of the seat here, like that. So there you have it, a user's guide to the Porsche GT1. But enough about that, it's time to enjoy it.